Jai.
Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Vigan Bhakti Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshavada Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakshakshara Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Mahansa Srila Gaukishore Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Satchidananda Srila Bhakti Vedanta ki Jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Govardhana ki Jai. Sri Advaita Mayapur Sri Madhyaji Pajinaji Madhyaji Pajinaji 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 Krishnaji Dham ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Radha Siddhartha Krishna Mangala ki Jai. Sri Shamakam Radha Kami Muna Radha Sasi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Yoga Mayapur Nasa ki Jai. Krishna Mahadev ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Srivasadi Saraswati ki Jai. Govardhan Mahotsava ki Jai. Raj Govardhan Mahotsava ki Jai. Shri Rasikananda Prabhu ki Jai. Jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Damodar Vrat ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So this evening on Giriraj Govardhan Anakut Festival Day, we're going to read some of the most beautiful poetry that exists on the earth planet. And who is that from? Kavi Karnapur. Now, of course, he wrote in Sanskrit. And when you see his Sanskrit, then you really become stunned, even if you don't know Sanskrit. But you know, like, we hear Sanskrit all the time. And just like in poetry, you know, poetry, the expertise of a poet is judged by so many different alliterations and what else? Like, yeah, you know, so, and alankars, yes, and alankars, but it's called something different in English.
Ornamentation.
Yeah, ornamentations, yeah. So, but Kavi Karnapur is really, you know,
he literally wrote the book.
The what?
I forget the name of it, but he wrote the book on Sanskrit Vaishnava poetry.
That's right. Yes, yes.
Like, a book about how to write poetry.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
Alankar Kostuba.
Yes.
Alankar Kostuba, yeah, I remember. I saw that. It's actually translated now in Vrindavan. 2 years ago when I was there.
Baladev put out a book called Chandak. Stuba.
Achha.
And it also talks about the different poetry.
Right.
The Morai.
Oh. Well, anyway, this book came out years ago, the translation of this book. I think Mahanidhi Swami oversaw it. You know, it's very well done. It has so much, many different types of analogies and comparisons are there in the book when you read it in English, you know. And so,
who's he a disciple of?
I forget, but he's the one that was able to have a very close connection with Mahaprabhu when he was a baby.
You know Mahaprabhu's tower?
Yes, that's him. So he turned out to be the greatest poet.
Is he the one that the parents actually asked, Mahaprabhu told them he wanted them to have a child?
Maybe, yeah, I can't quite remember. So anyway, because it's actually quite lengthy, you know, and we don't have the time to read the whole thing. But what I'm going to do is just read a little bit into how Indra started to react. I mean, the whole first part is just like in the Bhagavatam, when Krishna sees everything happening, and then he approaches his mother and she says, go away. Then he approaches his father and asks, what's going on? You know. And so after Krishna has convinced them and everything, and they've actually done it. They've given up the Indra Yagya, and now they've worshipped Giriraj Govardhan and all that. So now here's a little bit, not the whole thing, but here's a little bit of how Indra responded, and then began to command the clouds, and then after that, we're going to hear about how this devastating storm was approaching, and how it was affecting the Bridgevasis, and then how Krishna lifts the hill, and then after they've all gone under the hill, the nectar that takes place there. We'll try to hear all that. So, while sitting among the demigods, Indra felt sad and distressed, seeing that his sacrifice had been cancelled. Burning with rage, Indra said, just see how surprising it is. The intelligence of these cowherd men is just like the animals that they tend. They stopped my puja just by hearing a few words from a mere child. And even though many goddesses of learning praise me, those offensive cowherd men did not think twice about giving up my worship. Have they been overtaken by false pride? He asks. Oh, virtuous cowherd men, now you can act deviously without any fear of anyone. Well, I will see how long it lasts. This foolish, arrogant, and talkative child has offended me. Even though you claim he satisfies your desires and gives you long, prosperous lives, we will soon see if he is really your ever-well-wisher. Overcome by revenge and frustration, Indra considered a moment how to retaliate against the Bridgevasis. Angry Indra then released the powerful clouds of universal destruction known as Vartaka. And coming before their master, the clouds submitted. We are your servants, and we are always ready to execute your order. So to encourage his servants, Indra glanced at them with affection and appreciation as he addressed them. Hung ho!
Wait, what?
H-U-N-G. Hung ho. It's actually in the Sanskrit, something like that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, maybe it's pronounced hung ho, I don't know. So then he addressed the clouds and he said, oh, my playful, speedy clouds, who are famous throughout the world for distributing profuse rain. Your pride in your power fills me with strength. Now, make me successful by carrying out my orders. You have the unadulterated mood of destroying the whole creation within you. But this assignment involves only one small region. Go shake the earth with your thunder and destroy the village of Vrindavan with a deluge. Being released from the task of devastating the universe at a particular time, some Vartika and other servants of Indra proudly stepped forward to accomplish their mission. First, a vast bank of clouds appearing like a huge patch of moss in the sky. They blocked out the sun and they covered Vrindavan in total darkness. And I just wanted to mention, I mentioned this the other day, but the day that it rained up here, the real heavy rain that day, so you were all here? No, nobody was here. You were here.
I was in Fresno.
Yeah, but when I came over the grapevine and I came down into the valley, there were two banks of clouds on both sides. And in the middle, it was kind of clear. And you could see off in the distance, way up by Bakersfield, that it was more or less clear. So I thought, I wonder if I'm going to have to go through any rain. Because these two banks of clouds were literally the darkest, blackest clouds I've ever seen in my life.
Even more than monsoon clouds in India.
Well, yeah, actually they were even darker. Even darker and blacker. And I'm looking at the clouds and I'm thinking, well, Krishna's not quite that black. But then the area next to it, it got a little bit less black, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Krishna's. You know? So, yeah. All right, so first, a vast bank of clouds appearing like a huge patch of moss in the sky blocked out the sun and covered Vrindavan in total darkness. Extending from Rasatala to Swargaloka, the cloud covering looked like the smoky breath exhaled by the Naga snakes. Released from their bonds, a few ominous clouds in the sportive mood of breaking the Kedar mountain quickly spread across the sky. These dense dark clouds appeared as massive as the celestial elephants guarding the corridors of the globe. Another group of dangerous clouds circled overhead. The clouds, like Mount Mainaka, the son of the Himalayas, continually expanded, and they flew freely in the sky without any fear of being cut by Indra's millions of thunderbolts. One fantastically large cloud bank appeared like a second Loka mountain range, and if you've studied 5th canto, that's the big thing sticking up in the middle. The hard peaks of those clouds continued to grow higher and higher, while simultaneously expanding in all directions. When the clouds collected, they covered all the planetary systems in darkness. Even the sharpest axe could not cut through the dense network of clouds that assembled over Vrindavan. Now, the three worlds appeared to be born out of darkness, created by that ever-expanding cloud bank. The covering of the universe turned as black as the soot smeared on the bottom of a pot. However, the universal disturbances and the attack of the devastating Samvartika clouds had practically no effect on Vrindavan, which continually bathes in the moonlight emanating from Krishna's jewel-like toenails. After earth, water, fire, air, and so on, there is a 10th element, known as Andha Tamasa, blinding darkness. Everything animate and inert in the 10 directions appears stupefied by this element. It seemed that no one in the world could see anything. Water dripped from the dome-like covering of the universe. See? It says right here, it's a dome. Okay. The water drops moved so fast that they formed a continuous stream of water, speeding through the universe like a raging river breaking over its dam. Such a thing will never happen again. That torrential downpour seemed like the long hanging branches of the banyan tree of the sky. The cows sheltered their calves under the blankets of loose skin on their necks. In fear of the slashing rainwater, the cows kept their eyes almost closed and their tails hanging straight down. As they shivered uncontrollably from the violent rains, the skin on their backs swelled up. While standing in this painful condition, they looked toward Krishna for shelter. When the rain hit the horns of the bulls, it bounced off and landed on their thick, fatty humps. Breaking into small pearl-like drops, it then rolled down their broad, muscular backs. Alas, alas, the fierce rainfall angered and tormented the bulls. Observing the torrents of rain, which fell in columns as thick as the trunks of full-grown banana trees, the cowherd men of Vrindavan thought that the devastation had suddenly arrived. The devastation. Terrified and weakened, they approached Krishna, who makes everyone happy. Full of pain and agony, they said, "O Krishna, you always save us and give us happiness. Now we are in great danger, and since you are the Lord of Gokul, you should immediately protect us. Look, look, the flashing lightning bolt appears like the forked tongue of an angry snake. The pounding hailstones are pulverizing the life out of the trees. The lightning bolts entering the water seem like the brilliant fire emitted by mythical hydras. The clouds roar ferociously as they release torrents of rain as thick as massive columns, and the vast sheets of water are increasing in volume like the ocean of devastation. The earth is quickly submerged in the flood, and we cannot distinguish the high ground from the low. Just look around and see for yourself. The Surabhi cows use their own bodies to protect their calves from the pelting hailstones. With their tear-filled eyes, they are speaking to you. "O Krishna, once you saved us from the devastating forest fire, so please save us from this terrible rainfall. Look at the condition of the bulls. Upon hitting their humps, the heavy hailstones are being ground into pieces and scattering on the ground like pearls. Their eyes reddened in rage, the bulls raise their heads to look angrily at the clouds. Their faces and bodies are completely drenched in water. Aha! How much they are suffering! This devastation seems like the personification of a big anartha, which we cannot remove. Only you can deliver us. Therefore, we surrender unto you. We are your loving kinsmen. So, please save us." Everyone say, "Please save us." So after hearing their anxious pleas and seeing the distress of his cows, Krishna, whose blossoming lotus eyes are beautiful to behold, he considered, "This must be the work of angry Indra." And in a compassionate voice, sweeter than honey, then Krishna consoled his family and friends. He said, "Do not be afraid. Actually, this trouble is as significant as a hunger pain is to one who has just consumed a sumptuous feast."
That's an analogy we can all use.
Anyone practicing devotional service can easily remove all anarthas. This is still Krishna speaking. The kinnaras and the demigods glorify this fact. For your benefit, I will now enact a special pastime to destroy Indra's mountain of pride. Bhagavan Sri Krishna ki jai. Now, as the relisher of nectarian ras, Krishna, who has a beautiful body, which is as sweet as the honey in a flower, without even tightening his cloth, he showed complete indifference to the mighty wrath of foolish Indra. Instantly, Krishna picked up Govardhan hill with one hand, and he held it aloft with no more effort than a child takes a hold of a mushroom or an elephant uses to lift a clump of grass. Many loud sounds echoed in all directions when the mountain rose into the air. Can you imagine what it must have sounded like? The mountain being lifted up and lifted into the air. Woof. We'll have to produce a movie someday with all the special effects of Krishna lifting Govardhan hill. So the echoes sounded like a bunch of rowdy children yelling within its many caves. The lifting of Govardhan hill produced an angry, loud noise that crushed the pride of the elephants guarding the 8 directions. That furious sound roamed around and around within the covering of the universe. The sound had enough intelligence to win a wager on whether it could break the long meditation of Brahma on Brahmaloka. That sound dared to interrupt the uproarious Madhavika wine-drinking festival of the old ladies on Pataloka. Wine-drinking festival of the old ladies on Pataloka. The sound was going to interrupt their festival.
Had that much arrogance.
Yes. The flowers falling from the trees appeared to be the form of Giriraj's ecstatic laughter due to being touched by Krishna's lotus hand. Those falling flowers seemed to be Giriraj's celebrating the destruction of Indra's fame. Growing higher and higher, the sharp peaks of Giriraj cut the ominous cloud cover to pieces. The row of trees along the peaks of Giriraj challenged the trees in Indra's celestial forest. The lions living on top of Govardhan hill mistook the hovering clouds for elephants. Using their powerful sharp claws, they ripped apart that cluster of elephant clouds. In fear, the clouds ran hither and thither. Seeing Krishna holding Giriraj aloft with his left hand, Mount Kailas shivered in fright while thinking, "Hey, look, who is this covering the sky? How could this happen?" Mount Sumeru panicked. Overwhelmed by fear, the elephants of the directions jumped in the Manasi Ganga. Giriraj served Gokul as a jewel-bedecked umbrella that could not be moved by the fierce winds or pierced by the razor-sharp lightning bolts of Indra. Balanced on the beautiful emerald pole of Krishna's raised arm, Giriraj cast a pleasing radiance upon everyone. The glimmering rain shower coming down on all sides seemed like streams of dripping pearls. While holding Giriraj in one hand, Krishna, whose wonderful behavior illuminates the world, spoke convincingly to the cowherd community. Now here's a word. Mago. You know what Mago means? Oh, mother. Mago. Do not be in anxiety. Oh, father, do not worry. Oh, friends, do not doubt my ability. Giriraj will not fall from my hand. You directly saw how he personally accepted our worship. Is it then difficult for him to remain suspended in the sky? Although Giriraj appears to be a huge, immovable mountain, he is transcendentally situated, beyond the doubts and the comprehension of this material world. Look how light he is. Even a child like me can easily pick him up. Oh, just see, Giriraj is completely independent and moving according to his own sweet will. In this matter, I am but an instrument. Therefore, you should all collect all of your property and come under the mountain. There is no difference between the village of Vrindavan and this valley below Giriraj. Be happy and stay here peacefully. At the end of the Kalpa, everyone in creation gives up their gross bodies and they live within the abdomen of Narayan in their subtle bodies. Staying there, however, you could not enjoy as much fun as you can by living here within the belly of Giriraj. Then he says, when I lifted the hill, huge chunks of earth fell off the bottom, and they formed a natural boundary wall around the perimeter of Giriraj. This wall will keep out the torrential rains. Forget about your pleasure gardens and your attachments to your former residences. Let this place become the source of joyful pastimes for the cows, the gopas, and the gopis. The string of Govardhana dadis, reassuring words, resembled an elegant necklace made from the nectar of his voice. Immediately, the elderly gopas felt completely pacified by Krishna's sweet words, and taking their wealth, their sons, wives, cows, and priests, who felt immeasurable happiness and beamed with matchless beauty, they entered the splendid valley beneath Giri Govardhan. Ki Jai. So, taking shelter there, they all filled with surprise, and they smiled with delight. They clearly saw that the valley beneath Govardhan, which dazzled attractively in the light, could easily accommodate all their innumerable cows, animals, and family members. The valley brimmed with gratifying sense objects to see, touch, taste, and so on. That divine place was the very ornament of the earth. Its purity and its opulence exceeded the wealth of the subterranean heavenly planets like Sutala. Fields of rich green barley spread in all directions, and many lakes full of crystal clear water stood here and there. You didn't realize all this, huh? Because when you see the paintings, it just shows, earth and rock formations. But somebody should paint the valley of Giriraj Govardhan, huh? Someone should take that up. So the cows stayed near the border of the improvised town, and they pastured on fields full of fresh green grass. The Bridgevasi stood around peacefully in different groups. Some cowherd men mixed with the Brahmins, and the elderly married ladies stayed with their daughters. Radhika and other prominent young married gopis gathered beside them. Krishna's intimate friends like Batu remained by his side, and Nanda, Yashoda, and Balaram stood slightly in front of him. So thus, the venerable Brajavasis relished great joy, associating intimately with Krishna. They no longer felt any fear or discomfort from Indra's deluge, which threatened to destroy the whole world. The rain falling from the roaring clouds sounded like water pouring from the mouths of many large water pots. Although situated in different directions, all the Brajavasis gazed to their heart's content at the gorgeous lotus face of Giridhari. Did you hear that? They're all situated in different directions. And some of them are also even behind him. Doesn't say that, but that's what it's indicating. And what were they all able to do? They were all able to gaze to their heart's content at the gorgeous lotus face of Giridhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. Each devotee saw that Krishna was looking directly at him. Did that happen before in Krishna's pastimes?
When the coward boys were taking lunch.
That's right. And how many cowherd boys were there? They were in circles surrounding Krishna. Some behind, some to the side, some in front.
Infinite?
Not infinite, but
That
a
was
lot. Yeah. And each and every cowherd boy was experiencing that Krishna is directly looking at him and interacting with him, exchanging foodstuffs. Yes. Sorry, lost the place. Each devotee saw that Krishna was looking directly at him. Then, feeling very relieved, the illustrious Brahmins offered abundant blessings to the blissful younger brother of Balaram. Krishna descended on earth to perform his transcendental pastimes and to crush the pride of the demons and the demigods. So while holding up Govardhan Hill, Krishna was surrounded by all his loving associates. Taking advantage of the intimate setting, they gazed at Krishna with joyful faces. They prayed for his victory, or they affectionately smelled his head. And being saturated with parental affection, Mother Rohini firmly embraced her son Balaram, who always gives immense pleasure to his parents. Both the submissive gopis and the contrary ones, like who? Radhika. Both of these types of gopis, they smiled blissfully while looking at Krishna with love-laden glances. The gopis always play with Krishna, and they enjoy love sports in the forests of Vrindavan. While gazing upon him, they looked like thirsty chakori birds, continually drinking the ambrosial radiance of his moon-like face. With unblinking eyes, they took Krishna within their hearts and lovingly embraced him. During the festival of lifting Govardhan Hill, everyone tasted the greatest ecstasy. Somebody was asking, were they happy? Yes. They tasted the greatest ecstasy. And to lighten the heart of his beloved friend Krishna, now Batu, that's Madhumangal, he said, "Oh, dearmost friend of the whole world, please listen to my words. By my Brahman Tejas, by my spiritual potency, I will fill you with happiness. When I am here as your friend, why are you troubling yourself by lifting Giriraj? Oh, Lotus-eyed one, just order me and I will hold up this great mountain on the tip of my golden stick. You must be exhausted from holding the hill, so now relax and take some rest while I hold the hill." So then Brajeshwari Yashoda then addressed her son, "Oh, my darling child, you always act impudently due to the force of your uncontrolled senses. For years, we peacefully observed the Indra Yajna, but then you abruptly stopped it. And disregarding the demigods never brings auspiciousness. How can one find fortune if he shows enmity toward the demons or the demigods? In the presence of these two fears, how can we enjoy living here?" Although Krishna's body is inexhaustible and ever blissful, Yashoda thought that he had overworked himself. So considering that, she expressed her motherly affection by reaching up to lovingly touch his lotus hand that held the hill. And while doing this, she said, "Oh, how can your hand, which is as pure and soft as fresh butter, bear the heavy weight of this mountain without any other help or support? Hung ho, O Giriraj, please be compassionate and give me a boon. If you are actually some worshipable god, then do something to become soft and lightweight, so that Krishna will not feel any distress. O Honorable One, all my son's actions are in accordance with the instructions of Shastras and saintly persons. Then Batu said to her, to Mother Yashoda, Mother, do not speak like this. How can you say Krishna is in distress? Listen, what good has that angry Indra done for us? He brutally attacked us with his dense dark clouds and his fierce lightning bolts. Now, just appreciate the dazzling sweetness that Krishna has manifested in his pastime of lifting Giri Govardhan. Had Indra not become angry, then we would not have had the chance to relish this nectar through our eyes. Then Mother Yashoda replied to Batu, O bold one, holding a heavy load over the head can never be a show of sweetness. Krishna's holding a heavy load over his head. So how are you saying that this is sweet? That this is a sweet pastime? Lifting the enormous weight of Giriraj will cause one to become distressed and disabled. Just see, the locks of curly hair on Krishna's forehead are wet from perspiration. His face has dried out and become pale like a lotus wilted by the snow. His hands and his feet have a ruddy color. How can a mother's heart, oh Shiva, Shiva, how can a mother's heart tolerate seeing such hardship? Then Krishna said, Mother, there cannot be anything more fun than this. Why are you worried about me for nothing? Just see, the great mount of Govardhan is floating on his own in the open sky. I told you before that this body of mine is simply but an instrument of his will. Then Yashoda replied, My dear son, that may be true, but how can you not be tired after standing here for so long and holding that mountain with your raised arm? O intelligent one, I will believe what you said if Govardhan gives up the joyful association of your lotus hand and then flies around the sky playing on his own. So then Batu said, O Queen of Vrindavan, don't you know that this great mountain is sitting on the lotus hand of Krishna by the strength of my mantras and my special powers? Therefore, my friend is not feeling any pain from holding Giriraj. This is natural, because everyone is favorably disposed toward the Lord of their hearts. Then Yashoda said, O impudent one, what kind of nonsense are you speaking? I am burning in anxiety over my son. His tendency is to act independently without caring for any good instructions. And now you come here, make jokes, and laugh about it. Then Nanda Maharaj interjected, Why are you scolding Batu? In this world, a person who is expert in diplomacy will use very affectionate words to encourage one in such a trying situation. So, understanding the need of the time, Batu spoke appropriately. Besides that, our dear son very much appreciates the words of Batu. So meanwhile, the rest of the Bridgevasis stood around Giridhari, admiring the sweetness of his gorgeous transcendental form. Due to their affection for Krishna, the sinless Bridgevasis transgressed ordinary etiquette, and they talked loudly among themselves about his extraordinary beauty. One Bridgevasi said, Up to this time, we have never really appreciated how Krishna's elegant body is the very ornament of the entire earth. Look, look, as Krishna displays his attractive threefold bending form, his left side stretches up broad and straight without showing the 3 lines on his belly. His right heel is raised and his left foot appears to be kissing the earth. His well-shaped left knee is slightly contracted and his waist is gently curved. His garland and uttariya, his thin chadar, are swinging to the left side. It is very pleasant to see his armpit as he effortlessly holds his strong left arm aloft. Haribol. And they go on. His right thumb is tucked into the refulgent red cloth wrapped around his handsome hips, which are enriched with the 3 beautiful lines in his belly. Just see how the beauty of Krishna's right side decorates the earth. See, they're observing every little detail and they're completely overwhelmed by this beauty. So in a merry mood, look how Krishna glances lovingly at us as his eyes roam here and there. The pollen from the dew-covered blue lotuses tucked over his ears reflects exquisitely on his shining cheeks. Even though he must be tired from lifting Giriraj, Krishna is delighting our minds with the nectar of his gentle smile. Today, his beautiful face is more dazzling than anything. Now a second Bridgevasi said, "Oh, look, it is a great mystery that since Krishna has not moved for a long time, his ankle bells, which crush all false pride, which solve all problems, and which deliver one from all dangers, they have now become silent, just like a dumb person. Although they are awake, those ankle bells seem just like a pair of swans sleeping in a front of a blue lotus flower. Just see, the ankle bells are absorbed in silent meditation, just like a self-realized soul. But when Krishna lifted Giriraj, their meditation broke and they moved slightly. The demigods praised that pleasant jingling sound and they came to serve it. Seeing that, the ankle bells again fell silent, feeling apprehensive about their sudden movement." And another Bridgevasi, someone else, he said, "Oh, look at Krishna. While holding Giriraj nonchalantly in one hand, he holds his pastime flute in his other hand. Pressing it gently to his lips with his flute and holding Giriraj, he plays soft, sweet tunes that fill us with exhilaration." That's pretty amazing. One-handed playing his flute, one hand lifting Govardhan. Yes. Then noticing this, Batu said with alarm, "Oh, my friend, do not be so daring. Do not play your flute. How will you protect your friends today if Giriraj becomes ecstatic from hearing the sweet melodies of your flute and falls off your hand? Your flute has the power to destroy everything. Simply hearing it, mountains melt into rivers and rivers turn stone. Aho, look, it can do many incredible things." Then the cowherd boys said, "Oh, Kusumasava, may this mountain maintain his patience and keep protecting us from the calamitous inundation. If Giriraj melts into a river, he himself will become the very source of our destruction. But that will not happen. A person with great patience may sometimes thrill with ecstasy, but he quickly recovers his composure. So there is not the slightest fear that Giriraj may change his position. Just relish the honey nectar of Krishna's flute and give up your restlessness." Who said that? Cowherd boys. Then another person said, "Look, just see the foolishness of Indra. Even though he is supposed to be a well-wisher of all, he has shown anger to such an innocent person. Within his heart, he has enmity against Krishna. O lifter of Giriraj, Indra, tries to destroy our dynasty with his lightning bolts, whereas Krishna always does well for the world. Indra merely guards the eastern direction, where Krishna protects all the directions. Why has Hari, which is also apparent, is a second name for Indra, Hari. So why has Hari become so shameless by assuming the same name as our Lord Hari? Then someone else said, how astounding! Before us we see the deliverer from the inundation, the clouds causing the inundation, and also the deliverer from difficult times due to the inundation, and the very ocean of inundation. Are we being bewildered by some illusion? Or has someone cast a magic spell over us? Although we are in such a dangerous condition, still we have not been defeated. Then another person said, though we are in the middle of a terrible devastation, we are delighting in a conversation full of joking and laughter. While relishing these nectarian talks, we do not feel any anxiety or disturbance. Then one Bridgevasi said, O Radhika, your face is superbly beautiful. Do not make your eyebrows dance while Krishna is holding up Govardhan, for that will severely agitate his mind, and then his arm will start shaking violently and cause the mountain to immediately fall off his hand. Please do not cause such a perilous situation. Then Radhika joked with Shamala Sakhi, a witty, sweet speaker, expert in making people laugh. Shamala Sakhi, right? So Radhika joked with her. Then glancing shyly from the corner of her eyes, Radharani said, Hey, doe-eyed Shame, do not infuse your ecstasy in my heart. Calm down and control your mind. Then one gopi said, Krishna, who turned the king of mountains into a play ball, must have tremendous patience. His clever behavior is beyond compare. Then another gopi replied, Alas, alas, your words are drawing exactly the opposite conclusion to my intentions. So, now, listen to your praises. O enchanting one, I will accept that the holder of Giriraj has great patience if he can keep his patience after seeing the splendid beauty of your full breasts. Jai Jai Shri. Then a third Sakhi said, O Sakhi, stop joking. Krishna's greatness is his ability to satisfy everyone with his unique sweetness. He is especially pleasing when he teases wanton ladies like us. Then one Sakhi said, just see how Krishna holds up the mountain with his left hand while softly playing the flute with his right hand. He casts loving sidelong glances on everyone, and he shakes his head pleasantly while listening to his friends. Then one dear Sakhi told Radhika, listen carefully to my words. While all the Bridgevasis relish the pastime of constantly looking at Krishna, he is absorbed in glancing at you alone. Just see how his body has erupted with ecstatic symptoms, such as tears, trembling, and thrill bumps. But the other Bridgevasis, they think that these transformations are due to his lifting Giriraj. So the gopis have their understanding of what's really taking place. Then one Sakhi said, yes, what you said is absolutely true. Please take this pearl necklace as a reward for your realization. While admiring the infinite loveliness of Radhika, Krishna, enveloped in bliss, trembled and perspired profusely. Observing these ecstatic changes, one gopi pointed to the cowherd men and told her girlfriend, hey, look, The Gopas think that Giridhari is feeling tired. In a mood of compassion, they have raised their sticks above their heads to help him hold up the hill. And seeing the prominent cowherd men endeavoring to hold up Giriraj, Radhika, whose face outshines the moon, covered her head with her veil and looked shyly at the ground. Then, unseen by her Sakis, Radhika beamed a sweet, gentle smile to bathe Krishna in a shower of nectar. While looking at the cowherd men, Batu said, "O residents of Vrindavan, do not be afraid. You are just scratching the body of Giriraj with your sticks. But do not think that you are holding up the hill. Krishna is not the least bit tired. Besides, he is the brother of Balaram, who is as famous for his unlimited strength. The pure and potent body of Krishna emits a dazzling radiance. Only a sudden calamity could reduce that effulgence. O my friend, Krishna, observing the trembling of your body, I can understand that the beautiful face of that famous Saki, Radhika, has put you into great distress." Yes. Oh, how the time flew by.
Tomorrow you can give.
Wait. I'm just reading a little bit more to complete it here. The Prince of Vrindavan is the abode of unfathomable attributes. His face is as fresh as a blue lotus flower bathed in the soft moonlight. When he smiles attractively, his beautiful teeth sparkle like 1,000 rays of light. A radiant pearl necklace adorns his chest. Krishna reveals the ecstasy in his heart by gently moving his reddish lips. So after listening to the playful words of Batu, then Krishna responded sweetly to the delight of his intimate friends. He said, "The cowherd men," this is Krishna responding now, "the cowherd men have a very favorable attitude toward me, and therefore I always fulfill their desires. Why are you laughing at them? The Brajavasis do not know the inconceivable power of my body, nor do they know that the famous Radhika is actually one of my matchless forms. Radha's body is non-different from mine, and she is my favorite lover. The Gopas attempt to hold up Giriraj simply proclaims their parental love for me. Indeed, their action is quite befitting. What could be more pleasurable than this?" And then Krishna spoke to the Gopas. "Ho, ho, O Gopas, you are famous for reposing all your love in me. So why do you behave like this? Even though the great Mahadev, the father of Ganesh, respects you, you are acting like common men. Give up this wearisome endeavor of holding up their sticks. Just look at me. You can plainly see that I am not the least bit tired." So this dialogue continued with Mother Yashoda, and yes. So that's most of the dialogue. There's just a little bit left, and then it's describing how all the clouds and the whole storm receded, and then Krishna was telling that everyone can now go out again. Do not be afraid, like that. So on this Govardhan Anakut day, we listen to the king of poets, Sri Kavi Karnavur, and some nectar, and got a little glimpse of the mood that was going on amongst the Bridgevasis for the entire 7 days and 7 nights. Unbelievable. If our acharyas had not written these things, how would we know? So Giriraj Govardhan Maha Mahotsav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Anakut Festival Ki Jai, Jai Shri Giridhari Krishna Ki Jai, Jai Bridgevasi Gana Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Vancha Kalpaturubhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo